What's up, and welcome back to the Talking Nutrition Podcast. Today's episode 92. Happy Thanksgiving. What's up, Kristine?
Not much. How are you?
Not much. Just working, as usual. Been writing a lot of podcasts, a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, you've got a lot going on.
We're about to announce, like in a few weeks, less than a month, our second coach. So that's going to be really cool. So that's been like my main focus as well, like training her.
That's
And
so
it's been cool,
exciting.
for
Yeah,
sure.
that's so exciting. That it's been one of the best decisions I ever made
100%. You know what
bringing
I like about
bringing
it?
coach on.
Because we already as coaches we tend to think like we need to do all these things, and like there's so many moving parts, but like how good is it to have like that second set of ears and eyes and just a
Mhm.
second brain like in the mix, you know what I mean, or a third even,
Yeah. Yeah. Me and
it's great.
me and Christina talk all day every day. like
Good.
I talk to her or I text her more than I text Eric. Like it's constant. But I love it. She loves it. I mean, I just went and visited her in Georgia. It was fantastic. She's got a full roster now. She's getting there. She's at 26 right now.
Cool.
Um, yeah, so she's thinking probably like 30 or 35. So we're climbing. It's really good. And we just had a bunch of her clients re up their contracts. And so, yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
That's great. Do you
Hmm.
sorry, I'm just fixing something in the background. Do you still, because of course this is going to go up tomorrow, do you still run your Black Friday thing like to the until the end of the week, or?
Yes, I'm running it until the 27th.
Okay, cool.
So I'll just mention that. So if you commit to 4 months, you get 1 month free. If you commit to 6, you get 2 months free. And if you commit to 12, you get 3 months free. And then you can also gift someone like a 30-minute nutrition audit if you want. That's in there too. But yeah, I mean people have been taking advantage of it. It's been a big success so far. So I'm really happy with it.
Cool. Awesome. We'll make
And
sure to
that's the
link that
first
in
time
the
I've this
show
is the
notes.
first time I've ever done anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
You know what I like
mhm.
about it is that you still require people to commit, you know?
Yeah,
Because I wouldn't like just someone jumping on something just because it's like discounted or whatever, or like,
right.
oh, let me
No.
just do this real quick. It's like, no, like
Mhm.
you're committing to like 4 months or 6 or 12, and
Yes.
you're in it
Yep.
for like, for the long run, and you get
Yes.
rewarded for taking action. I like that. I think that's really cool.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Awesome.
awesome. Yeah.
What's the plan for Thanksgiving?
So, for me, I just have a dinner tomorrow with Eric's family. My other side of the family's in Canada, so they already had their Thanksgiving, but um yeah, I mean, this type of season is a little bit hard for me to navigate because of my sensitivities with gluten and all of that. And so I have to be a little bit extra careful. I'm sure there's other people here, dealing with the same thing. I very much voice that I cannot have gluten and I ask, and I know that can be kind of awkward for some people. But it comes down to me either being really sick tomorrow and feeling like crap or voicing it and getting a little bit uncomfortable. So I just get uncomfortable. um, and then I also bring my own stuff. Like I'll bring dishes. So I actually am bringing like an apple, like a gluten-free. It's actually a gluten-free, dairy-free apple pie so that I can have some dessert. And then I'm bringing just like some other dishes that I know I can definitely have. And so it just takes the stress off for me and not, just in terms of like not getting sick. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's something to definitely voice if you're in that position because it's just not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, let's just start there because we're going to talk about Thanksgiving anyway. I think even just in general, it doesn't even have to be Thanksgiving, but like having those conversations, it's important, you know?
Yeah. Mhm. Big
And I
time.
almost think that people would rather, like you said, like not get uncomfortable by actually bringing something up than, right, actually having a
Mhm.
conversation,
Yeah.
but then having to deal with the shit.
Yeah, I know, because I think people get worried that people are gonna make comments, and it's like, well, I mean, if they make comments, it's whatever. Like, it's a lack of knowledge on their part, really. That's what it is. They just don't get it, and that's okay. You can't really expect them to. You just gotta kind of move on, honestly. I mean, there's nothing that you can really, there's no, unless you want to sit there and try and educate them. But are they really even going to listen? Like, is it worth the energy? Like, that this makes you feel like crap, and so it's like, all right, I just say, this is it. Like, this is. I tell them, like, tomorrow if I eat gluten, I will be in bed all day.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I say. I'm like, I will be in bed all day sick. So I cannot have it. So I just need you to tell me, like, what's in this dish. Like, at this point, I'm like just so upfront about it. I really don't even care.
Yeah, but it's good. Like you have to be upfront with it,
Yeah, yeah.
and just say,
And
because you
it'll make them curious. Some people actually, like, they might react a certain way, but then they'll kind of get curious. Like, if they see how serious you are about something, they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay." Like, they might not show it, but they probably are like, "Oh, okay, maybe that is, a
yeah.
legit thing." Because some people don't think it's legit, and I'm like, "All right, you've got some education to catch up on, because this is a very legit thing."
Yeah. I do want to kind of restate that you actually have a sensitivity to gluten, so I don't want people to think like, oh, I have to
Yes.
avoid gluten, but like those things
No,
are very
no, no.
real. And
Oh, yes. Yes, they are.
you know what, like it doesn't even have to be like something like that. It could even be something like alcohol or any like decision that you're trying to make
Mhm.
here, because I think we're going to talk mostly about moderation here today. But you can say no, you can bring stuff up, you know what I mean. I had this so much over the years with not drinking alcohol, which has been
Yeah.
like 11 years now. So now it's just like just people just know, they don't
Yeah,
even bother.
yeah, totally.
But in the
Totally.
beginning, it's
Yep.
like you say that you don't drink, and then they're like, still kind of giving it to
Yep,
you,
yep,
still trying to give
yep.
you like a little sip or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
but it's the same thing, A lot of people
It
would
really
still
is, yeah.
take that drink because they would, again, like they would rather not bring it up, and they would rather say, oh, okay, I'll have it. Well, they know, similar to you, maybe, like when they have too much to drink, very next day they're gonna be sick,
Yeah.
and they're actually trying to make this, healthy choice for themselves. Where, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna have 3 drinks or whatever it is, or whatever the number is gonna be for you. It's cool to make those decisions. Like no one else really has anything to say about it, or no one else even
Mhm.
notices anything of the changes that you make for yourself. Other than you maybe
Right.
bringing it up. I
Yeah.
think it's a lot of this stuff is going to come down to, at least in this scenario, it's just not caring about what other people might think or say.
Mhm. It's you're waking up in the morning, in your body. They're not, right? So
Yeah,
it's like you really gotta think about that morning, how you're gonna feel. Like, how am I going to feel in the morning? Is this person's comments outweighing that? Like, you really are going to feel like crap tomorrow because this person is giving you trouble about wanting to have some drinks or more dessert or whatever it is, you know? Like, I mean, I get it. I do get it. I get it's uncomfortable, but maybe this is a chance for you to work on confrontation.
yeah, and you know what? It's just like everything else. It's a skill. It's a muscle you can train, but
100%.
you'll never get good at it if you don't start saying no. Sometimes, if you don't say, hey, you know what? Like
100%.
I'm good. You know what? I'm gonna have like one
Yep.
drink less or whatever it is.
Yep.
So
Agreed.
to kind of fill me in, as well as like the European listeners, so Thanksgiving is mostly kind of like You guys mostly just like it's mostly just food related, right? You have like a day, big meal and stuff.
Yep, we the family gets together. It's similar to Christmas. Like some people, family will have turkey typically. Mashed potatoes, casseroles, desserts, all that. So it's a really awesome time. But it's a challenging time for some people, right? For the reasons we kind of just talked about, like family members possibly commenting, but also just like people worrying about overdoing it from now, really, Thanksgiving until Christmas, um, or just in that meal.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of wanted to talk about just different tips and tricks or like practices that we use or help with clients. And so I think a huge one, the one I really like starting out with, it goes along the lines of what we were just talking about. And this is a practice that I use with my clients all the time, and it's the self monitoring stuff. The questions, like checking in with yourself. It's like, okay, going into this Thanksgiving dinner and asking yourself, how do I want to feel after this dinner? And getting honest with yourself. And then, during the dinner. So we can talk about, what we do with our plate or the desserts and whatnot. But I do think even more importantly than that stuff is, okay, you ask yourself how you want to feel before you go in, you get that boundary or whatever set. And then during your meal, okay, you get your plate of food, you finish your plate of food, and you check in with yourself. Another self monitoring moment here. How am I feeling? Am I really full? Like, where's my hunger at? How will this next piece of dessert make me feel? Right. So, if you go up for dessert, you have it, right? And you want to go up for seconds, stop, check in. How do I feel? Is this going to make me feel like worse and just like super full, like that uncomfortable feeling? And I think that is one of the most powerful tools, um, when it comes to self control.
100%. And I really want our European listeners also just to pay attention because this stuff is going to come up during Christmas, and in Norway, like Easter is
Hmm.
big and stuff. It's all going to
Hmm.
be like the same tactics. But I like that
Yep.
because it's even just like it's not being reactive, like you go in proactively, like hey, this is my decision. I'm gonna go in kind of knowing what I'm trying to get out of this meal.
Yep.
And it's mostly just at dinner. So if you think about it, as much as, like, let's be honest, you can definitely overeat. You can definitely
Mhm.
overeat in one dinner with the desserts and all of that. But then again, we're only talking about one meal. And I
I know,
think
it's like yeah, like that's the thing. It's one meal. It's one meal. It
yeah,
is okay to have more food. We're supposed to. Like this is
yeah,
when we have these foods that we don't normally get to have or these desserts that we don't normally get to have, but it's you can still go in it with intention and being mindful and still
100%.
very much enjoy all the food that's there.
Yeah,
It's the awareness that you're bringing around it. Like you're still going in with some sort of intention that can help immensely with not getting you to the point of where you feel physically just so crappy. And then, what that leads to from a mental standpoint, right? Like that can very much easily lead into the all or nothing thinking. Whereas, like, if you are more intentional about it and you don't get to that point that you normally do, you're going to feel so much better. Like from a mental standpoint, it's building that confidence, right?
yeah.
So,
I think it's also building momentum in a way because again, it's one dinner, right? We're talking about the holidays in
mhm.
quotes, but it's like we have one Thanksgiving dinner now, and then there's
Yes.
like Christmas and a New Year,
Mhm.
whatever. But like it's a decision that you can make that will lead to a certain amount of or a certain type of momentum, right? It could be good momentum of like, hey, I go in with a plan, I make in quotes, like better decisions. I'm mindful. I
Hmm.
practice moderation. Hey, even if you don't fully manage, like you at least give it a shot. Great.
Right.
That's your first step, into like the holiday season, let's call it. And that's going to
Hmm.
also reinforce just you making a better decision, maybe at the office when there's all the cookies and chocolate and all of that lying around. And then, it just kind of snowballs into something positive. Or on the other hand, it could also go the other direction, right? Where we
Hmm.
don't do it, we maybe kind of beat ourselves up about the fact that, hey, we fucked up, in quotes, even though it's kind of like one meal, right? And that could do
Yep.
maybe lead to a negative snowball where now it's like, well, you know
Yeah.
what? I overdid it yesterday anyway. I'm gonna have the cookie and the chocolate, and it turns into, right, the holidays in quotes being a month and a half of, well, fuck it, we'll just try again in January. I just got a notification. It said like, ask Kristine to refresh and re-enter the studio, but we're good.
Okay. So should I restart that then?
Just in case, yeah, for the
Okay.
movement bit, yeah, just in case, yeah.
Okay. Um, so, going into more of like the tips and, tricks or whatever. Um, so something that I think can be really helpful just from like a mindset standpoint is actually getting in movement at the beginning of your day. Like if you're having a Thanksgiving dinner, get in some sort of, little workout or a long walk or like something like that. Like it can put you into a good, nice, healthy mindset. And we often feel very good after we get movement in, right? So it start your day on a good foot. I Johan is going to agree with me. Like, don't be skipping meals. That backfires. Um, if you want to eat a little bit lighter, eat a little bit lighter. But again, coming back to the thing of this is one day. It's one day. Like it's not a huge deal if you eat more calories. I would rather you have your normal breakfast, your normal lunch, and go and enjoy your dinner versus trying to restrict, getting all hungry, and then feeling, crappy later in the day. And now you're so hungry that you end up overeating significantly. Like that typically is what we see happen. Um, so those are two things. And then I have like an unpopular way that I've been adopting with meals like this. I used to say, oh my gosh, Rose. I used to say, fill your plate with the protein and the veggie dishes and by all means, like I will probably do that because like it makes me feel better. But there are some situations like from a satisfaction standpoint, like you have to remember this is a meal that you don't normally get, and so you could go in to the dinner and say, okay, like I'm gonna have this plate in front of me, and I'm gonna fill it with all the dishes that I don't normally get to eat. And you can throw some of the protein in there. Maybe you have like a little bit of turkey on a bun, but grab the stuff that you don't normally get to eat and fill your plate with that. Like there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like you're gonna feel a lot more satisfied with, well, a lot of people will feel a lot more satisfied with that versus you know filling up on the turkey and the vegetables and stuff that you sometimes like you normally eat, um, and and then say, okay, after I'm done with this plate, okay, like the self monitoring situation, how do I feel? Do I want to go out for more? But I think um, for some people that can be a good approach because they're actually trying everything and it's satisfying for them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to think about it too. It's just a healthier mindset, because it's not that those
Hmm.
foods are bad or anything, or like, I mean, we talk about this good and bad food discussion all the time, but it's like, it's the
Yeah.
one dinner.
Hmm.
If you just pick it back up to your usual routines the very next day, like pretty much nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think we also need to realize that, and just kind of like not even put too much value on the fact that it's gonna be this massive binge or whatever. Like, no, like, be a little bit more flexible. And
Yeah.
then, no, by the way, like, I do want to like I do of course understand, right? Getting to that point where you can be flexible, it's a
Hmm.
process, right? That
For
needs to be
sure.
worked towards.
Hmm.
So I do understand, of course, and it's kind of like easier said than done in a way. But throw yourself into that uncomfortable situation to where, hey, you know what?
Right.
Like I am gonna have the food, and I'm gonna practice that mindfulness. I'm gonna make sure that I don't, or I try not to feel guilty about it. And you'll see,
Right.
again, if you go back to your usual routines the next day, after a couple days, you'll notice like, hey, I'm exactly where I was. It's
Yeah.
probably gonna be just fine.
Hmm.
What I like as well is this kind of goes back to just table matters in general and digestion that we talked about last time. It's like chew your food, eat slowly, don't
Eat
like power
slowly.
shovel.
Yes. Hmm.
And I'm super guilty of that one.
Oh,
I
me
told my
too.
client, I told my clients too.
Same.
I'm like, I have to like actively remind myself every single time,
Me, it's so funny. Me and Eric are the same way. We're like, dude, like we need to freaking slow down. Like when we go out for dinner with people, they're like still eating and we're completely done. We're like, gosh, like
Yeah.
thankfully him and I are like that together. And I'm not like the last one eating. I'm like, we gotta slow down. He is just like shovels it in.
You know what usually happens for me? Usually, like this happens at restaurants and stuff too. I'll look at my plate and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I have like a
I
fifth
know.
left, and everyone else is like starting their
Yeah.
first fifth, of the plate. And then I try to be
Yeah.
polite, so I sit there and wait. I'm like, I start looking at their food and just like
You're
couldn't
like,
give
I
a
want
shit.
to eat.
But it happens. And then like I legit have
Yeah.
to actively remind myself. And then also there is just the awareness. Like I know I need to be doing that, and I
Yeah.
need to get better at that. Um, and it's up and down. Like I'm not great with that, but it's okay. I'm aware and
Right.
I do my best. But
Yep.
still,
Yep. Agreed.
one trick that I like to use is looking at or looking around the table and just seeing, okay, who's like the slowest eater, and can I pace myself to that person.
Ooh, I like
And
that.
yeah, because and no one's gonna notice anyway. But like, I kind of look around and I'm like, okay, I'll try to kind of keep up with them or keep up, of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that can help, or just putting your fork down and those kind of basics. You see, like we're just kind of throwing out a bunch of different tools here. Take what's useful or what you think like, oh, that's a good idea,
Hmm.
and other stuff that you're like, well, you know I don't think that's for me, or I think I'm already doing that. Well, cool, try something else.
Yep. Yep.
But that's usually a big one for me.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, eating slow is definitely important just from like a hunger and digest. Rosie, I feel like she's gonna freaking. Hey, um, another thing. It's not necessarily to do with food, but Rose, I feel like she has to go poop. I feel like she's gonna poop in here. She's such a little bugger. Hey, come here. She's crying. She's crying like crazy, and then she's like doing her spin thing, like she's gonna
Yeah.
poop. Um, if you end up, if you after your meal, like if you feel really full, I know you probably won't want to, but one of the best things you can do is go for a walk. It
Yes.
will make you feel better. It's gonna help digest that food. It's also gonna help with the blood sugar, so you don't have like a massive crash later. Um, it is so helpful. Even like 5-10 minutes, just go on like a nice easy walk, grab someone to go with you, and just take a break from everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
either or, like take a break from everyone or bring them. Just be like, hey, you don't want to go for a
Yeah,
walk, like,
yeah. Yep.
because I literally said this yesterday, in our client community, because I did like a mini little live on Thanksgiving stuff. But like,
Mhm.
I was like, well, there's not a lot of guarantees, but I can pretty much guarantee this one is like, if you sit down right after that big fucking meal, you're gonna not feel that great, and especially
Yeah.
not compared to if you actually go, if you would actually go on a walk. That
Yep.
I can guarantee. Like that's gonna be a huge difference in terms of like how you feel in so many different
Yep.
ways. So Rose is
Agreed.
not supporting the podcast, I think, right?
She's not. She's begging to go out right now. I think she has
Do
to
you
poop.
what? Yeah. Do you walk your dogs just in the forest by you guys, or
Yeah, yeah.
that's great?
They just run off their leash. They love it way better than me taking them on a walk. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
they
great.
hmm
Dogs are the best.
they really
I
are.
think you know what? I think we cover most of the basics. I think we cover most of the
Hmm.
important stuff.
Yep,
And
agreed.
at the end of the day, it's just about going in with somewhat of a plan, just being mindful and just trying something.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is like if you're hosting the dinner, give everyone the leftovers and keep the protein and the vegetables. Like this is where you want to keep. So keep the turkey and the vegetable dishes. And then if you're somewhere, bring those home. You know, bring like if you don't want the leftovers, like just bring the protein dense and the vegetables or that are left over and that you can you can use those for a few days versus having those like really calorically dense dishes.
Yeah. I like that because it's usually also the stuff anyway that most people wouldn't like want to take, like the veggies and stuff,
100%. Yeah, you're like, I'll take all that.
and
Turkey
and there's one more
sandwiches.
one more thing that just popped in my head, and I do want to bring this up briefly. So we've talked about kind of sharing your journey with your friends and family members, and bringing people in, and kind of like explaining, hey, why you're making certain decisions and all of that. And again, not everyone is going to get it or right or may even be on board with it. Fuck it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
on the other hand, and this is something I do want to point out because I've heard this a couple times, or I've seen this kind of like going around the social media sometimes, um, in like comments and stuff. The fact that you are on a fitness journey, this is kind of like just flipping it around, right? The fact that you are on a fitness journey also doesn't say anything about what other people should be doing. Because I've
Hmm.
seen people kind of make comments almost in a like a down talking way in terms of, yeah, but my family or my friends, they don't eat healthy things that I do, you know. Um, and I also don't think we should go about it that way, where it's like, well, almost like I'm better, I'm doing the healthy
Oh
thing, and
yeah, that's
they
a
have
good
like all
point.
the unhealthy stuff. I don't like that shit,
Hmm.
and it's not going to be
Hmm.
helpful in any way.
No.
Um,
Hmm.
and I have seen that a couple times recently, which was kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of bothering me. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, because
because
it's
you
often
should be doing
talked
your own thing. But
about. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
go ahead.
often talked about. It's often talked about like they're giving the negative comments, right? Versus the person in on the journey judging them for
Yeah,
not doing what they're doing. Yeah, I like
yeah.
that. That's yeah.
Because what you do doesn't affect them, but also
Mhm.
doesn't have to say anything about what they should be doing, and
Yes.
doesn't make them any less. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Mhm.
great that you want to eat healthy. That's awesome. But if anything, bring them in on it. Like share stuff
Mhm.
and have to have those talks, but don't
Yep.
kind of like put it on them, because at the end of the day, you're eating food. You know what I mean? You're eating the
Yeah.
food. You're controlling your intake, whatever it is. You're gonna have to deal with temptations, whatever maybe. So the fact that your family member who tries to make something nice, right, food wise, even if it's a little bit more
Yes.
processed, whatever you want to call it,
Yep.
like
Yep.
that's not a negative thing. you know
Mhm. No. Yeah.
they mean that in the best way
Totally.
possible.
Agreed. I love that. It's really true.
I think that's maybe a little bit less common, but it should be mentioned. So
Yeah. No, I think that people force what they're doing on other people or like sometimes there's those people that are like so their mindset is all like whole foods, no processed foods, and so they can like judge people who are bringing these processed foods and how terrible it is for us. And it like goes back to the same thing. Like this is like one day. Let
yeah,
them make what they want to make and food is meant to be pleasure. It's supposed to connect us and that's important. We can't forget about that
yes,
too, right? So,
100%. That's a really good final point, because
mhm.
we forget that that's a huge, massive part of just food in general, as well as your
Yeah.
health. It's like that social
Yep.
component. We
Big time.
cannot ignore that food is massively
Mhm.
like it's so social,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. It
and
brings people
and
together.
yeah, I mean, this whole holiday is, you
Yeah.
have the meal together. So
Yeah.
anyway, let's just wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. First of all, this will be out on Thanksgiving. I think Rose needs to poo.
Yeah, she does.
So before we get any accidents in Christine's office, let's wrap it up just in case. You have anything, any other updates, Christine?
No, that's it. That's it.
Cool. Awesome. Christine, as well as the listener, happy Thanksgiving. I will talk to you again on Monday.